Hey everybody, it's Citrus, and from the very beginning, I've had quite the complicated relationship with observers. Between their frustrating and confusing differences in delay between what they're reading, pending ticks, and their downright unexplainable behavior when multiple are acting in a chunk. And I could go on and on and on about so many other things that are wrong with observers. So I decided to simply stop working with them for a few weeks. And this was the result of that. I call it Faceless. It's a main storage, and today I'll go into the details about what it does and how it works. Looking at a top view, there are four main components of Faceless. I'll start from the beginning and move in the direction of the items. Of course, the port where all the items are going to start is the input. Then they move to the bulk. They will move through bulk until there are no more bulk items left to be sorted. And then into the multi-item sorter, which will run until there are no more items left in its input. And all of the items that it cannot sort are placed into non-sorted. And this handles the non-stackables as well. Starting with the input here, we have three chests, the first of which is the empty box chest, which I can show off here. It contains just a full chest of empty shulker boxes, and then also an input for shulker shells and logs, where down below, if the empty shulker storage, which is the same chest that I was looking at here, gets too low, then it will activate these crafters that will turn shulker boxes, or that will craft shulker boxes out of the logs that are inputted and the shells that are inputted down here. And they'll go down and around and up into the box storage until it is full. Here there are also these walls where someone who wanted to throw something in or to input into the storage would throw against these walls, and then they go down here. And you can see that it follows this water stream and up and simply straight into the bulk. Now you might be wondering what happens if I throw in a shulker box. Well, the shulker box is accepted just like any other item. Since it's not bulk, it won't be sorted, and it will go down around into the multi-item sorter. And since it's not sorted in the multi-item sorter, it'll get spit out in the overflow. The overflow detects that it's a non-stackable, and the non-stackables go down here and into a box sorter. And if it's a box, it'll go once more down and around and up into this contraption. I can show you that contraption real quick. Now this, which I have simply just ripped straight out of where it was before, is a shulker box yeeter. And pretty much what it does is it instantly unloads the shulker box at the cost of the shulker box. And now that might sound like quite the trade-off there, but remember, I have a crafting machine that will automatically craft new empty boxes if the machine starts to run out of boxes. This also prevents the empty box storage from becoming overflowed from boxes being input by the player, and instead they are just destroyed. I'll show it working here. It's rather simple. I've got a box of fish. Take the box, put it in this dispenser. If I activate the dispenser, all 1,728 fish are just spat out there. You can see all of them are here. And when the boxes are yeeted, their contents will simply just be dropped down and merged with the rest of the stream where you can throw items in. And now that they're out of the box, they can be sorted into the bulk or the multi-item sorting. Moving on to the bulk, which stores up to 4 double chests of Shulker boxes full of the items that you assign to the filters above. I thought that this would be the end of my Observerless journey. It has been in every Observerless main storage I've attempted in the past, but thankfully I was able to come up with a solution. Now, what had stumped me before was how do I make a monostable, which is usually required inside of a Shulker loader that one would use inside of a bolt. I've removed a couple slices over here, and you can see that instead of your typical torch and trapdoor or dispenser water bucket observer monostable, what I have instead is a dropper latch. And this is being used as the monostable here. You can see that when the box becomes full enough that this hopper begins to overflow and items flow in, once it reaches a certain threshold, it'll activate, and it'll first turn on this dropper, which moves this repeater over to this dropper, which this comparator reads and activates the piston to break the box. And then, 6 hand ticks later, this dropper is powered to send the repeater back to this dropper, which turns off this comparator, of course, and retracts the piston, placing the box again, letting the items flow back into the box. But this also locks the input so that there's no problems with overflow. Along with that, at the same time, it will unlock all of the hoppers that it requires to move downwards. And down here is the display where there would be a Shulker box down here. If I wanted to place one, I could push the button and it would break it and then place it again. Besides the monostable, there were some other challenges to do with the bulk. The main one here was, how do I handle the largest possible input? Certainly, these filters cannot be expected to handle the input from the player all at once. So it would be expected that some items would fall down and miss these filters. So what I've done is I've implemented the flipper logic, the RoboDolphin storage logic, just at a much, much, much smaller scale and observerless. So you can see if I go up to these filters, along every filter, there is a torch which powers this line here. And this line attaches to a very, very long pulse extender. And once that pulse extender runs out, it goes down around here and powers this trapdoor. Now this trapdoor is what would allow items to pass down through into here, which is the observerless RoboDolphin that I've built for this. So that means that when there are items being sorted into bulk, they will, instead of going straight down into the multi-item sorter, which this is the input for the multi-item sorter, they will fall down and into the input of the RoboDolphin. And the RoboDolphin, as I explained in my other video on Flipper, just resets the despawn timer, which is 5 minutes for the items, so that they can continue circulating as long as they need, so that it can receive pretty much an infinite volume of items. Moving on to the multi-item sorter, any items that fall down and are diverted because there are none being sorted into the bulk will go up through this pipe and down into the input of a multi-item sorter. Now, this is a multi-item sorter I made special for this storage. It's observerless, it's cart-based. I think it's better shown in the world that I made specifically to hold it, so we will go over there. So it starts at the input, and for testing here, I will actually throw in some items, and these are only bound to single items, so it won't be too interesting. I'll throw in plenty of items so we don't run out while I'm talking. You can see that the items are all placed here on top of this soul sand, and a minecart is ran under them, and then underneath these pufferfish, which are all named 1 through 4, and will fill the slots of the cart. Let me see if I can catch it right as it's placed. There we go. You can see all 5 slots of the minecart are filled. It will then jump up down through here and land on these rails, which I'm going to have to go into spectator to show. And its signal strength is red. If its signal strength is higher than 2, then a single item will be removed from it. That item is checked to see if it's a non-stackable. If it's a non-stackable, that means that the first slot of that minecart that just passed through is now empty after removing a single item. So it moves this rail to divert the cart and will yeet it. And the cart is returned back to the cart storage, and the non-stackable is dropped down along with the single stackable items that were removed down here into a non-stackable separator. If it's a stackable, it'll go up and around and down back into the input. If it's a non-stackable, it will simply be spat out by the machine. And in Faceless, it is handled. So, if the cart doesn't contain a non-stackable, it will go underneath all of these chests. And all of these chests have the list of items that are stored inside of each slice. And if it can remove an item from that chest, that means that the item in the first slot matches. Now, this is how all cart categorizers work. After it goes under these chests, it will remove all 4 of the filler pufferfish and a singular item from the sorted category to return to the chest. Now, important to note is it only removes that single item if there was an item that was sorted from the chest. The cart will then go up and be yeeted. Its contents are placed on top of an extended piston arm and then hit by a piston with a slime block in front. With the item to be returned so that the filter chest gets refilled very slightly after the items that were sorted return to their hopper. The minecart is sent back through this water stream to the storage down here. And fish go down this water stream and are returned to their hoppers. I do quickly want to go over some credits. Zeno was actually the one to make the slice you see behind me, the observerless parallelized categorizer slice. It was perfect for this application, so thank you, Zeno. And then the bubble column minecart yeeters back here are perfect and are by Firebee. They were indispensable in the creation of this multi-item sorter, so thank you to him as well. Back in the world for Faceless, I can show you what extras I've added on top of the categorizer. Now, you may have realized that with high input volumes, with the items simply just sitting on a pressure plate, there's a chance for the items to despawn. So what I've done is, if items are sitting on the pressure plate for just about 3.5 minutes, which is this clock here, it will wait until the next activation of the minecart, and then it will stop the multi-item sorter and start dispensing minecarts, hopper minecarts back there, and pick the items up as if it was inside of Flipper. and then yeet them all at once inside of this water stream. The cards are returned, and the items are put back into the input. And they're held here until it's done resetting, so you don't get stuck in an infinite loop. That is what takes up all of the wiring down here, as well as much of the wiring up top. It's probably the most complex part of this storage. Additionally, I do have dry fire protection in the form of this barrel with a snowball. If the barrel loses its item, which would happen if a minecart that doesn't have all 5 of its slots filled goes underneath this barrel, it will stop all activity of the multi-item sorter, but not the despawn refresher, so your items don't get lost if it dry fires. And the item is outputted out the non-sorted side back here, where you would be able to collect it inside of this hopper. And you can see a light turns on if it's collected here. I've spoken about the input, the bulk loaders, and the multi-item sorter. What happens if the items that you've inputted make it through all of those steps? Well, they're not sorted, so they go to the non-sorted section. Now, there are 2 categories of non-sorted here, the non-stackables and the stackables. I'll start with the stackables. If I follow the output of the multi-item sorter non-sorted here, which is when this piston is pulled back, so the items don't land in a place where they can get hit by the slime bot. They go up, around, and around, and around, into this. And this is just a simple, accessible shulker loader. See here that there is a box with 58 sugar inside of it. Let's say that box has been broken and is now inside of my overflow storage. It's rather annoying to have to take this out and place it and break it, put it back in. So something that's rather genius that I first saw from Gore to Fame inside of his simple main storage v1.2 is a variable display. If I open this chest, hover over the box I want to look at, and then throw it out, you'll see it falls in that hole. The box that was there gets broken, and the box that I threw out is placed down. And the box that was there is now back into this chest. Simple enough, and it saves me all of the steps of moving the shulkers around and juggling what was in the chest, what was in my inventory, etc. It's the perfect system. So thank you, Gore to Fame, for that. The other half of non-sorted is the non-stackables. Now, these come from the output that you saw in the categorizer world download before, where if they're non-stackables, they're spat out by the machine, go down, around, and up this bubble column, where they will be checked against first a shulker box to see if they're a shulker box. As I talked about before, if they are a shulker box, then they're dropped down and go into the heater. If they're not a shulker box, they will be put into a brewing stand. So that would be a potion sorter. So the potions go in this chest. And if they're not a potion, they go down here, and they get checked against a chiseled bookshelf, which only allows books inside, and these would be enchanted books since it's non-stackable storage. So I only have special storage space for the potions and the enchanted books, which are the things that I find looking for the most inside of my non-stackable storage. Everything that isn't a enchanted book or potion gets spat out, down, and around, and up, and down once more into this shulker loader that you saw from the UI. And of course, that Shulker loader goes into its own variable display. Some extra specs about this storage is that it's full hopper locking, which means that there are no hoppers that are unlocked while this machine is not running, including the ones in the variable display and any of the input. Everything is unlocked dynamically as it's needed, and there is no, although this is a rather loose definition, there is no global locking, which means if a hopper is not actively needed, then it is most likely locked. In terms of speed, the bulk runs at 1 times hopper speed per item type of bulk inputted. So it will handle logs and deep slate and cobblestone separately at 1 times hopper speed, which is 9,000 items per hour. And it can do that for all 16 bulk item types at once. Once it gets past the bulk and into the multi-item sorter, it'll process at about 1.2 to 1.6x hopper speed, depending on what you've inputted. And non-stackables are handled much faster. That's it for the explanation part of this video. The remainder of the runtime will be me just inputting the 2 boxes I've got in my hotbar here, which contain a variety of items from the Hermitcraft item set. And I will watch them as they go through the system. So, thank you so much for watching. I'll let you enjoy Faceless work.